deferred tax. No, employee benefit and deferred tax. Those topics is quite important. So if you miss the class, just make sure you keep it up with that because they have a lot of exercise in there. And the last class before you present, which is going to be on the equity sections. We're talking about treasury stock, we're talking about common share, we're talking about earning per share, something like that. Also diluted earning per share. That's going to cover on the Thursday, and then we're done. See each again on your presentations. All right, so we have about 2-3 classes to go. This week, very easy. I'm not going to say that's easy. I'm just going to say like, well, if you think list is the tools to help company. Not only you can buy equipment, you can do some lease, but of course, to simplify this, it's basically like, well, if you do the lease, you get an asset. It's come with liability. It's done. That's it. Nothing much. Or on the other hand, well, I just want to pay for the rent. It's going to go to the expense, charge as an expense for the PL. So it's like we got two options. So just like within 2 or 3 minutes, we get the concept. But this class is going to tell you more like how do we get that particular numbers. Just like that. That's why you need to learn a lot of calculations and things. And of course, I turn your homework back with the solutions up there. All right. So when you get a break, you can come and pick up and check with your solutions that get you. Okay, let's start with the list. The list basically people first just like is financial tools to help company. Sometimes people say we can use list to avoid something, to do like some of balance sheet financing. All right. Some people say lease is a tool for company to save the money now, but get the asset to use first at the first place. Like let's say if you run the airline business, you need a big money to buy the airplane. Rather spend a lot of money to doing so, you just like, well, I just go for the finance institutions and sign up the contract as a lease. But it's come out like, well, if you think about lease, what kind of contract you want to go for? You want to do operating lease or want you do financing lease, which is like international term. All right, but if you go for American company, they're not going to say it like that. They're going to say operating lease or capital lease, which is different. So capital lease look like finance lease. But capital lease categorized again into 2 types, right? Self-type lease or direct finance lease. So it just depends on what company you work for or what accounting standard they apply to. If they apply for IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, basically we separate lease into 2 terms, operating lease and finance lease. But if you go for American company, they follow US GAAP, all right? They classify like operating lease and capital lease. And then for capital lease, they do for 2 things, self-type lease or direct financing lease. All right, you're going to learn all of these terms and how they come up with the number and how they affect the financial statements. Okay, keep that in mind. This is what we're going to learn today. So that's why we have 2 types. We have 2 sides to think about. First, if you are the person who go to sign up for the lease and want to get the fixed asset, you call your name as a lessee. The person who finance you, we call the lessor. All right, I'm going to use this term for you guys. Lessee and lessor, like employer and employee, same thing, right? So if you are the lessee, you want to lease something, we're going to ask you, well, you take it as operating lease or finance lease. For American, operating lease or capital lease. If you are the lessor, that's about it. All right, for the lessors, they're going to say that, well, if you treat as an operating lease, this is what I'm going to do. I'm still on the asset. You come to me, you pay the rent for me. That's what we call operating lease. But for finance lease or capital lease, in this case, well, you come to my company, I have to choice things about. I sell it to you. That's what we call sell-type lease. Or I'm not going to sell to you, I just finance you. That's what we call direct financing lease. We're going to learn all this kind of pattern. Alright, so that's why you got two sides to think about, lessee and lessor. That's why I just recap into two topics for the upfront, accounting for lessee and accounting for lessor. And then you're going to learn a little bit more on off-balance sheet financing, like you can do synthetic lease, just replicate the lease. Of course, you can search from Google what that's supposed to mean. Or you can do UPO, unconditional purchase obligation. Something like that. That's what you're going to learn just to get to know this is another kind of financial tools for you guys when you run the company. Alright? I'm going to start with the airline business. If you imagine, well, I want to go to do airline business. What airline do you think first? Nok Air, which is low-cost airline. Right? Basically, when Nok Air fly on, the main operating asset should be the plane. Right? So they have to buy a lot, spend a lot of money for the plane, isn't it? So if you are the CEO of Nok Air, what choice you want to go for? Operating lease or finance lease? If you want to lease the plane, you're not going to buy. Right? It's a big money to spend money on. Which one do you prefer? O or F? Operating or finance lease? O, what is the benefit of O? Operating lease. What is the benefit why you guys choose O? I just guess it's 50-50. I hate F. I don't want to get F in my transcript. That's why I choose O. What is that? What is the benefit of choosing operating lease? Any ideas? Yes.
You don't have to own the plane?
Yes, you don't have to own the plane. Anything else? If you own the plane, what's going on with that?
You just get old, get costs. You have to
Get
sell it
old,
later.
get costs. And what happens when you do financial ratio calculation?
ROA will decrease.
ROA will decrease because you've got a high asset, isn't it? Right? That's why I think, well, why should you go for operating lease? But if you think the other way around, I want to have a large amount of asset because I want to show my risk. Is that possible? Right? If you got a lot of assets, it means you are rich, isn't it? When you analyze financial position statements, isn't it? People the other way may choose, well, I want to go with finance lease. I want to have an asset. But of course, it's come with liabilities, isn't it? But when you pay for like operating lease, you pay for the expense. You pay for the rent. Just like you rent a house, something like that. You cannot own it, isn't it? Well, that's why it's come to dilemmas when you think about which one should I go for. Alright? If I'm a Thai Airways, the national airline, which one I'm going to go for? If I'm born Thai Airways, then go with OL or FL? What you think? You get pros and cons in this case now. OL, no asset, have just an expense. FL, have an asset, come with liability, and of course, when you got an asset, what will be your expense? Depreciation. You trade off between rent and depreciation, isn't it? When it's come to make decisions, well, if we go finally, I got an asset as an asset in my financial position statements. But when I got an asset, of course, I need to calculate depreciations. Also, I do have liabilities. What happened to my debt to equity ratios? If you go for FL, higher or lower? Higher, because you got a high debt. High asset come with a high debt. That's what you need to think about what to go for. Not only you have depreciation expense. On the other hand, you prefer for the OL, operating lease. I don't have asset, I don't have liabilities. All I got, the rent expense. Suffer your profit and loss as well. And think about the cash flow statement for CFO. Cash flow from operating. For OL, CFO higher or lower? Because you pay for the rent, isn't it? But for FL, what happened? Sorry. CFO, nothing. Because you have only depreciation expense, which is not cash expense. But what happened to your CFI? Higher or lower? CFI. Think. Did you pay? You got an asset with liabilities. Isn't it? You didn't pay for the asset, but you pay off liabilities. You pay off the liabilities. This comes to operating as well. Right? But which one you pay more? Between operating rent expense or liabilities that you pay for. You know what I mean? Alright? Hopefully you can think through before you choose what you got. That's the basic concept of lease. 5 minutes be done. Right? Actually just 5 minutes. You get an idea. This is the implication when you do financial statement analysis or when you perform your decision making. Which one you go for. But if just like this, well, I just come to class and then I go out back home. Actually, you need to learn on how do we get all this number because you need to compare the difference between two numbers. Okay? Let's try to look for Thai Airways. You guys get on internet. I'm going to show you the financial statement of Thai Airways. Anybody guess? Try FL or OL for Thai Airways. What do you think? F or O? F? Yeah. Alright. We're going to prove that on the financial statement. What about Bangkok Airways? Boutique Airline. What do you think? F or O? Let's prove. I'll go to SEC website.
This one good enough?
Before.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, here.
Go for Thai Airways first. Okay?
Yeah.
Here we go. Consolidated financial statement.
Cool. So this new one. Very interesting.
Look at the PPE. So Thai Airways.
The log.
Alright, and looking at liability sides. We have right here. It's a non-current. And we also have current portions of liability under financing lease. So it's been what? TG preferred FL. I'm not going to say preferred, maybe the mix between OL and FL. But you can prove from the financial statement, well, you will see in the next year, this is what they're going to pay, about 9,000 million baht to pay off liabilities. And when you're looking at the cash flow statement, from operating activities, of course, you add back with loss of depreciations, there's a huge depreciations. Hold on, let me try to follow nothing foreseeable. This is what they pay straight away, but not required for the plane. Alright. Try another one. Go for no air. Go for liabilities.
For what?
Can you find
serious. It's pretty
FL on here? Do we have finance list on liabilities for no air? Look. Loan, payables, loyalty program income, provisions for aircraft maintenance. So no, prefer OL. And if you look at the asset of no air, you expect to see the plane on here, and when you're looking at non-current asset, did you see any plane up here? This is non-current asset. They have only the deposit for the aircraft, but not the real aircraft. But do they have the PPE, property, plant, equipment? Nothing up here. So now I challenge you to go for Bangkok Airways. You see no air, they go for OL. They don't create liabilities from finance. Thai Airways go for FL. But maybe they mix with OL too. We need to drill down again on P&L and the footnote. Because normally if you go to the footnotes can tell you a lot on what's going on. For example, we can go with TG. If you go for FL, basically they're gonna have the footnote regarding on finance list, liabilities. Oh, sorry, go up, go up. This is going to be for debentures. Here, they do have liability under finance list for you. They have a list that they're supposed to pay within 1 year, in 1 and 5 years, and more than 5 years. So the cost, they got a footnote down here. So when you're looking at the financial statement, don't forget to read the footnotes too. Alright? What that's supposed to mean if they have more liabilities like this? This means in the futures, what's gonna happen? They need to support for about almost 50 something, 50,000 millions in the futures to pay off all the airplane that they got. You think can they handle it? Is imply for expected cash flow as well. If you think, well, normally the cash flow they operate during the year, not a lot. I'm not sure they can cope with all huge liabilities like this. But of course, it's the main operating business to fly. Just have to make sure they can move on. But if you look at the note and you find out, well, maybe it's not good to go with this company, you go to No Air. If you go to No Air, here we go. When you look through the note, you see nothing because they don't have FL, right? No, go with OL. Basically, what they got, they have only this prepayment. But you can guess from footnote number 7 what they're gonna do for the about prepayment. If you pay high deposit, what that's supposed to mean? High prepayment for the airplane. It means you create high plane too. And what are the source of the plane? Not from liabilities, but it's going to be from the expense that you're going to create every year, right? Because you treat it as an OL, not FL. In the next couple years, not couple years, a long year, you're going to create a lot of expense as well, right? So the footnote can help you to do some expectations, all right? Well, just show you for the quick things on what's going on about the lease. In the same business, one company choose operating lease to run their business. Another company choose financial lease to run their business. Why they doing so? What motivates management doing like that? That's going to be interesting question to drill down. That's why in some of your friends ask me to compare industry peer to find out earning manipulation or earning management. So to make the story interesting, try to find out what is the rationales behind of the action. Okay, so now just get back to the PowerPoint slide. Go to lease. Lease is a contract between two persons, the lessors and the lessees. The lessor is the owners of the asset. The lessee is the one who seeking use of the asset. Of course, what I highlight here is like the lessor grant right to use, that's the keyword. Right to use asset to the lessee. It doesn't mean like they give you the asset straight away. They give the right to use of the asset. Alright, so it means what? When the new accounting standard apply, alright, accounting standard number 17, I'm just one second. Accounting standard apply. Even you run operating lease, but if you give them the right to use, you may need to recognize the right to use as an asset. When we talk about operating lease or finance lease, it's not about the form of the contract, like in legal form. We do have some situation and some indication to figure out this should be finance lease, this should be operating lease that we're going to cover later on. Alright, so of course, to get the right to use, the lessees, what they're going to pay for, they have to pay periodic payment. Now I'm talking about the big concept of the lease. No matter what finance lease or operating lease, they need to have these two components. get right to use and get exchange of the money as a return periodically. Okay, so like I give you the asset, let's say the machine. You pay to me every month like 100 baht every month. That's kind of lease as well. Because you got the right to use of my asset. But of course, they got an advantage of leasing the asset, just like I wrote down on here. Costly, less costly, because you don't need to pay big money at upfront. All right, and of course, when you do for the lease, you guarantee with the fixed interest rate, which is a nice thing to do. Rather than borrowing money from the bank and go and buy. Now, just like you use an asset by borrowing the money from the finance company. Okay, and they have some restrictions from the cost of the borrowings. Just like Jake told us before, well, if you do the lease, you avoid obsolescence of the machine. Because you lease, after the finish of the contract, maybe you can return back to the lessor. Or you can have purchase option. The option to buy the product. So, right? So that's why we have to learn what are the components in there. Okay, and of course, if you construct the situation or indicator as an operating lease, it looks like you have off-balance sheet financing because it's treated as an OL. You don't need to have liability on your balance sheet, just like that. Okay, so normally the lease term is quite short. Basically, they cover for the entire useful life of the asset. The technical term you're going to learn today is executory cost that we need to identify. Because sometimes when you do the contract, you need to pay for insurance. You pay for the tax on the maintenance across the lease term. That's what we call executory cost of the leasing term. All right. So of course, this can happen in terms of lessor side or lessee side. It's up to the contract agreement. And the lease can be or may be non-cancellables. Or you can cancel, but they got some penalty from the early terminations. Or maybe you can cancel but without penalty. Right? It's up to the situations. At the end of the lease, the asset can be like first belong to the lessee, or second go back to the lessor. All right, up to. And of course, if you want to buy, lessee want to buy, they should buy at the market price or the fair value. That's why in the option, the purchase option, need to identify how much you're going to pay if you want to buy from the lessor. Or you can buy at bargaining price. So normally we go for the fair. But if you think, well, the lessor want to motivate the lessee to buy, of course, you need to do some bargaining option, isn't it? The price is going to be lower than the market price. That's the way it is. And sometimes in the list, they could have residual value. All right, just think about PPE. This one you learn with Dr. Minshri. For PPE, you got the cost subtract by residual value divided by useful life. That's what you got for depreciation, isn't it? All right, that's how you get depreciation. Same thing for the lease. For the lease here, you got original cost of the asset. You can have the salvage value, which is like almost equal to like the bargain price. But I'm not going to say it's the same. Residual value may be not the same, may not be the same as residuals as bargain or option price. All right. So for the residual value, it's like the lessor guarantee. If you want to buy this, you can buy at this price. If you want to buy from me, but if you go for somebody else, you buy at another price. So this is my residual value that after you consume all the asset. Alright, so this is my residuals. You still want to buy? Just like that. And of course, if you imagine this is going to be the stream of the cash flow. When we construct the lease contract, you need to construct the stream of the cash inflow and outflow across the contract. Just like when you value bonds. When you value bonds, you think about if the company want to issue bonds, they issue that you're going to have the par value. Alright? And you also have interest or coupon rate as well. So it means what? If you draw the line across time, just like this, if you draw the line across time, this is what you're going to have. Imagine this is a bond. Just replicate the bond to show you. Well, you want to issue bond today. This means what? You need to get money today. Money in today. Bond is about 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means what? Every year you pay at the coupon rate. Right? When you issue bond. For example, the par value is 100. The coupon rate, let's say, is 6%. So it means what? At the end of each year, you pay for 6, 6, 6, 6. Like this, you pay interest back to the bondholders. At the end of the contract, what happened? You pay at par. Right? So that's why when you value bond, you have to discount it back to the present. This is a chunk of present value of interest. And of course, you need to discount present value of the bond par value. So let's suppose we call this one as an X, this one as a Y. The bond value will be X plus Y. And of course, the way you discount with effective interest rate or EIR. Hope you can recall what you learned before. You learned about the concept of future value and present value, right? The money in the future is not equal to money at the present. That's why you need to discount with the interest rate. So when you write it down, well, future value equal to present value 1 plus I over N. Is that correct? So that's why the present value equal to future value 1 plus I over N. Isn't it? That's what happened. That's why you got discount factors. Alright, so let's suppose the EIR here is 8%. You issue bond with premium or discount. Coupon rate is 6%. Effective interest rate, which is market rate per se, is 8%. Discount. Alright? So basically, when you want to find out the value of the bond, what it is what? Well, you want to find X first. X, which is what? 6, 1 minus plus 0.08 over 1, and plus 6, 1 plus 0.08 plus 6, 1 plus 0.08, and then 6, 1 plus 0.08, number 5, like this. Common factors. Is that right? That's why you got X. You do the finance calculator, this is what you got. Present value of annually, isn't it? Right, this is what you got. Well, in terms of Y, it's very easy because at the end of year 5, you got to pay 100, which is the present value will be over 5. So add all together, this is the value of the bonds. So apply this concept into lease. What happened? The asset amount you rent today, you want to buy today. But what happened? You subject to pay every period in the futures until it's expired, until the expired period. All right? So that's why when we value the contract that we're going to make, how much do I pay for the rent per year or per period? How much should it be for the amount of the asset, which is at cost? This comes from this present value concept. Okay? All right? Ready to apply this thing into the lease? Yes. Same thing for the bond. If you think it's easy, it's easy. So when you value the bond, because you imagine, well, what that's supposed to mean? I have to pay 6 baht every year, for example, as a rental expense. Well, if I have to pay rent for 6 baht every year until the lease expires, what is the value of the asset today? Isn't it? That's concept when happen when you calculate the terminology when you do the lease contract. All right. So well, let's try to work on this then in the next slides. Just like I mentioned to you for the first place, okay? We have 5 situations. This is quite important slide. To identify this is going to be finance lease in terms of lessee. I'm talking about lessee view first. All right. First, look, the lease transfer ownership of the asset to the lessee by the end of the lease. So it means what? I rent from you. At the end, I'm going to own it. It's very obvious you intend to get it. Second, the lessee's got option to buy the asset at a price which is quite lower than fair. Put the parentheses on there, lower than fair. So it means what? The lessor motivate the lessee, hey, you buy it, please buy it. All right. Well, and it's quite certain that the option will be exercised. Right? Otherwise, you're not going to buy if the price you're going to exercise is greater than the fair. You didn't buy at fair, it's better. Isn't it? That's why the price is quite tempting for you to buy. What about the number 3 here? The lease term is for major part of economic life of asset. I'm not going to say it should be 80% of the asset life. No. Back in the old day, they said it's quite strict number. Like, got to be more than 80% of useful life. That's it. But now they change the term into major. So it's in what it's very subjective. It's very subjective to deal with, well, if the useful life of the asset, let's say, is 10 years, and I do the lease term for about 9 years. Is this major? Well, you will say, oh, it's major, John, because it's about 90% of useful life. But on the other hand, I say, well, I just made the lease term for about 7 years. 70% still major. It's kind of argument now. But we go to the 4th option. At the beginning of the lease, with this technical term, say the inceptions of the lease. The present value of MLP, minimum lease payment, that's what I normally say. MLP is a short word, abbreviations. All right, then we have the MLP. The MLP here, well, is, if you after discount, is quite like close to the fair value of the lease asset. So it means like the substance here, when you pay for the rent, it's almost covered the fair value of the asset. Isn't it? It's covered major thing. And number 5 here is quite important when it comes to the argument. The lease assets are of specialized natures, all right, which is only the lessee can use them without major modification being made. What that's supposed to mean? It looks like this asset is designed for you. Only you can use this one. I designed this for you. All right, I don't want to touch the news in the stock market, but it's families like me. I run the printing company, and then I just want to list the machine, the printing companies, the printing machines which was designed for me. So nobody can use this because it's quite specific. Well, if it's designed like that, you cannot say, well, it's going to be OL. Even the contract say, well, it is for OL. But the content say, well, number 5 says so. This machine was designed for you. Only you use this kind of machine. Something like that. All right? So we got 5 situations. And also, if you go for next slide, we have 3 indicators. What happened to my indicators? For indicators of the finance list, first, if the lessee is entitled to cancel the lease, the lesser loss associated by the cancellations go to the lessee. So the lessee taking care of that. This is like show intention that I'm taking care of, I'm responsible for what happened to this kind of asset. Gain or loss from the fluctuations of the fair value of the residuals go to the lessee. It looks like the lessee taking care of the risk, isn't it? If you read the indicator like this, how are taking care of the price? Well, if the machine price drop or go up, I'm taking care of that. So it's all yours. What about the third one? The lessee has abilities to continue the lease for the second period at the rent which is substantially lower than the market rate. So it means what? Everything favor to you, right? Favor to the lessee. If you renew the contract, you pay less to simplify, right? If you renew the contract for the second time, you got advantage again. So it means like everything construct for you. Okay, 5 situation, 3 indicators. That's the size of finalist. If you can identify, well, I'm gonna go for finalist, then move to the next things. The examples here. Read the question first, and explain to you later. This is some information about the list here. Okay, then after you finish all the questions, just draw the line like this. The list say, well, the Dancing Note Corporations here lists musical equipment from the screaming music, right? We have 3 years, 1, 2, 3. Alright, we got 3 years of the stream here. The list payment every year is like this. Year 1, year 2, and year 3. And they pay on December 31st. December 31st. December 31st. Right, this is streaming, and this amount includes 1,000. So it means 1,000 the maintenance fee. This means what? Every year what you pay for the list only 20, like this, plus 1,000 executory cost. Alright, 1,000 executory cost, I'm going to write up here. Alright, if we got the pictures like this, we are on January the 1st of year 1. Basically, what they say, the fair value of the asset here is 50,000. Useful life is also 5 years.
3 years.
Salvage value is 0. Alright. Borrowing rate is 12%. Interest rate that's implied in the lease contract is 10%. So the contract rate is 10%. Alright. Well, look what happened is if you do the discount back to the present like this. I equal to 10%. If you do the discount, future value 1/0.1 plus 1/1. This is going to be the present value. You do the math, you should get this amount. So this look like we apply the bond value concept in the lease agreement. By the end of the year, discuss it back to the present. This is what should be. Should be the amount of. Wow. By doing like this, what should happen? We treat them as FL in this case because they get into the 5 situation that I mentioned to you before. Lease term measures part of the useful life. Just like that. So we treat them as a FL. Okay? So once we treat them as an FL, of course what happened? The lessee is going to have the asset with the liabilities. Basically, I should say debit asset and credit liabilities for the FL, but at what amount? In this case. So basically, of course, just like when you record the bond, you record at the present value. So I would say the first number that the first entry that I'm going to do is debit the asset, financial asset, and credit financial liability, which is 50,000. That's for the first place, which is asset as a lease. But of course, this is on the 1st of January of year 1, when you sign up the contract and do it. To record the lease asset. Alright? Of course, once you get the asset, what happens? Calculate depreciation. Right? You calculate depreciations. 5 years, 3 years, debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation, AD, accumulated depreciation for about divided by 3. Alright, but now it's come to this guy for FL. The contract say we supposed to pay this across 3 periods to cover all the payments. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is on December 31st of year 1. What I'm going to do is, I have to pay cash. I have to pay cash, credit cash is net for 2106. And of course, I pay you another one, executory cost, debit executory cost, which is like maintenance whatsoever for 1,000 and credit cash for 1,000. This is what I'm going to do for sure. Because when I pay for executory costs, like you pay for maintenance fee whatsoever. But over the lease term for 1 year, just like we pay our liabilities, of course, you borrow money from them, you're supposed to pay interest. That's why it's time to calculate EIR table, right? Effective interest rate amortization table. Okay, so for somebody who forget EIR already, so on the first, actually it's on the slide, but I'm gonna show you bit by bit. Okay, first, you got lease obligation for 50,000. So amount of payment every year, like on 12th or 31st of year 1, this is what you pay. You pay for 106, right? This is amount of contract you pay for. But of course, this comes with 2 components when you pay for this. One got to be interest, and one is for the liabilities, or I would say obligation. The interest rate which is on the contract is 10%. So for the 2106 here, 10% of this amount belong to interest. The difference go to 15106. This is the amount that reduce the principal. That's why it's come to 814. 1 year later, of year 2, you pay again for number 6. 10% of this belong to the interest, so it's mean what? 3, 4, 8, 9. Difference between these 2 numbers belong to the amount that you need to subtract from the principals. So which is what? 1667. The amount dropped to 77. Last year, of year 3, pay again. 10% of this belong to the interest. Difference between these 2 is subtractions of the principals. And finally, you got 0. Right? Just round it. Add up all the numbers. What happened? 60318. Liability of for 60,000, and this is gonna be. So when you finish the EIR table, then move this into the entry. Very easy after you're done with the EIR. So that's why I'm just gonna plug the first year in here. You pay cash for 2106. Is when you pay off interest expense for 5,000 and you pay off the FL for 15,106 and keep doing the same entry here for every year from now on. That's going to be on your PowerPoint slide. All right, that's the way it is for people who are working on break it. Get the asset, calculate depreciations. When you do the payment, break it down. But it's separate into two entries here. The first entry belongs to when you pay off all the payments, the periodic payments. And the second belongs to the executory costs, like this. If you turn to the next slide, we keep replicate the same thing. Depreciations, pay off for the periodic payments, pay off for executory costs. This is for the second year, this is for the last year. Very easy. Get the concept. How do we measure the lease contract? Present value, blah, blah, blah. Break down, use the concept as a bond. Break it to like this. So for FL, is quite, you may get used to it, just like you pay off for the bond, isn't it? You got an asset, the asset go for depreciation, apply PPE concept. For liabilities, obligations here, like you pay off the bond, or you pay off for the long-term loan, which is you need to calculate interest and subtract from the period payment and get for the principals. For operating lease, if it turned out, well, I think it's not FL based on the contract. Bam, like this. Compare two choices, what happened? If you go for the FL, how much is it for depreciations per year? If you go for FL, from this example, 16 something, isn't it? 16,667 plus executory cost, which is what? 1,000. So how much expense report? 17 something. But if you go for OL, what is this? Expense every year turned to be 21 something. If you focus on your PL, which one you go for? O or F? F. Right? If you focus on your PL, you go for FL because less expense compared to OL. But if you focus on financial ratio like ROA, you may rethink, I prefer OL because I don't want huge RO, I don't want huge asset in my statement of financial position. I don't want huge liability to deteriorate my debt-DE ratio. All right, so consider which one you should go for. Very simple. All right, in terms of lessons, it's not that hard to think about which one you're gonna go for. So that's why I summarize and break into two parts. For final list, this is AFN. Right? Got the asset come with liabilities. Expense, this is what you got. Depreciation and interest expense, which is you should compare with the rent expense. Which one is greater? Right? Because on final list, very obvious. You got A with L. No A, no L in OL. Right? But for FL, you got both A and L into your statement of financial positions. For income statement, what you got? Well, I got two category expense, but take a look. Depreciation you can treat as selling and administrative expense. This treat as finance cost. If you calculate for EBITDA, have you heard about that? Earning for interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. Things about it. or if you measure your operating profit, it means you kick off indirect expense from your scenario. Right? That's why management thinks a lot, because it's not going to be like 1,000 baht like this. It's maybe 10 millions whatsoever. It's hurt your profit a lot. But the important thing is the bottom one, cash flow. What happened to the cash flow when you pick FL? Of course, you pay off the interest. Depreciation, non-cash. The principals, when you pay off, is turned to be CFF, not CFO. Isn't it? This means you separate the way you pay into different kinds of payment, different kind of activity. You pay one amount, but go to different line. One as the interest, one as pay off the principal. But if you pick OL, the rental payment treat only CFO. So if you compare CFO here, CFO there, which one should be greater? Which one should be greater? CFO of finance list or CFO of operating list? Look at the numbers you just calculate. If you go for FL, how much interest you pay for every year? 1,000, 3,000 something. If you go for OL, how much cash you pay every year? 21 something. So it means CFO on finance list more than CFO on operating list. I mean net CFO. Alright, it's effect like this. So make sure you understand the implication of both leases. Alright. Well, looking at the ratio comparisons. Finance list, operating list. What happened here? Look, ROA, asset turnover. You know asset turnover? Which is the numerator, which is the denominator for asset turnover. Search on your mobile phone. What are asset turnover stand for? Come on, it's time to play on your mobile phone or internet. What is the definition of asset turnover? ROA, very obvious. Return is net income and divided by asset. Of course, we got a huge asset. What about turnover here? Check. Buy something?
Sales over total average asset.
Right. So what's going to happen then?
It's going to be low.
Huge asset. D, of course, higher. Because you got high debt in there. What about operating list? Everything looks fine. Think about what I showed you. No air versus Thai air. Why no air prefers all air? I don't need to answer this. You can answer it by yourself. Why company prefer OL? This is one kind of ratio that capital market participants or investors look for. I need high ROA company. I need lower debt to equity company. I need high profit margins company. Right? So this is one kind of tools. But now you can think about, oh, Ajahn, then I cannot compare no air to Thai Airways, isn't it? Because the asset is off balance sheet. Is that right? Can we adjust it back? What do you think? How? From OL turn into ML, what do you think? Think about the concept of ML. When we measure asset, how do we measure it? look at the line that you just draw. Discounted cash flow, which is cash outflow for the rent, isn't it? What if I want to replicate FL based on OL contract? You know the amount you pay every month, isn't it? Can you replicate like that? You know the stream of cash flow in the futures. Discount it back to the present, finally you got the value of the asset, isn't it? You got the asset, then you got liabilities. This is how you replicate. And the time. How could I find the rent per period? The rent for the period. You go to the footnotes, just like I show you from the real company financial statement. You go to the footnote of OL. You know how much rent I have to pay within 1 year, 1 and 5 years, more than 5 years. Remember? Can you replicate that in the line like this and discount it back to the present? That's how I teach my accounting students to play with the numbers. I can show you in a couple of slides. Next slide, I show you United Airlines. United Airlines here, they got two components. Look, aircraft as well. All right? They have capital lease right here, underlined by yourself. Flight equipment. All right? For about 2667. PPE down here. Got it? Okay. Turn to next slide. What happened next? Can you spot liabilities? Short term and long term. Up there. Capital lease. Up there. Capital lease. Up there. Long-term obligations and current obligations. And of course, everything should reflect in the footnote too. All right. So now, turn to the next slide. You will see the footnote. Here, this is a footnote of the lease obligation for United Airlines. I have to thank you, Dr. Wisarud. He did this slide for me. This one. Look, they got OL and they got FL, which is in American they call capital lease. OL is right here. FL is here. They got a streamline of payment. All right, and they have current portion. Of course, these two things link to the main statement. And you got this. You got OL. There you go. And what you got? About the payment across year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and afterwards. All right. I'm gonna use this number and put it into the Excels and try to find out what could be AL. I just break through for aircraft. After year 2006, if you add this up, it's gonna be about 8,000 something, right here. Right? 8509 927 975 1011. Okay, copy. Paste. But I extend from 2006, this means what? This add two together is going to be about 8,000 something. You guys got it? Alright, and I assume that after year 2006, what happened? They pay constantly. Okay, except last year, which is just rounded to make sure the number is just equal to the previous slide. Same thing for non-aircraft. Like this. Alright? And it just calculate internal rate of returns discount it back to the present, just like that. And I got the amount of the capital list to record. So after you drag all this, discount it back to the present. You got the asset? Yes. You got liability? Yes. Same thing, just like what I did for my example for 3 years. But you did here at least for about 10 some years. Isn't it? I just break all the detail from the footnote and discount it back with the same interest rate. Clear for that? Alright? So you learn how to adjust from the footnote into the financial statement. You can try to do this from note as statement and just recalculate out and you'll be surprised. You will be surprised on what's happened with the note. Up to you. I just give you the hint if you want to know what's going on. Otherwise, if you calculate ROA on note as statement, you get nothing. Because the asset, no claim. But the return, yes, is from the main operation. So it looks like you mismatch, isn't it, between numerator and denominator. Got it? So that's why the implications of the FL is quite important for you guys when you want to analyze the financial statements. Okay? If the company try to avoid this, you know how to adjust that. As the management, catch me if you can. Alright? I did OL, but you know how to turn into FL. Adjust it back, recalculate, and see, compare the ratio before and after you adjust, you will be surprised. Alright? It's gonna be fun. I would say like this is accounting for fun for me. That's to me. Okay? I'm gonna finish the lazy side for now. Alright? So it means what? To summarize what you learned so far, you got lazy contract. To identify FL or OL, got to check 5 situations or 3 indicators. Either of them happen, bam. Alright? No single number to look at. 80%, 25% of it, no more. But now it's come to the measures and things like that. Well, after you identify OL, FL, make sure you understand the implication as a lesson. What's going to affect your financial statement? The benefit of OL, the benefit of FL. Alright? I'm going to give you a break. When you come back, you're going to find out on the lesser tab. When the lessers give you the list, what will be the effect? Okay? Now it's time to feed you guys. Go for it. Okay, take a break, huh?